Eita, so rwan bod ni'n recordio, dwi just eisiau dweud croeso mawr i bawb sydd yma. Mae hwn yn un o gyfres o sgyrsiau syniadau da ni'n ei gynnal. Mae hon yn sgwrs drwy gyfrwng Saesneg, ond da ni eisiau croesawu pawb yn Gymraeg gynta. A na i newid one. So just switching over to English, I was just welcoming everybody in Welsh. We've got a mix of these sessions, some happening in English and some happening in Welsh, and this is one of the English language sessions. But I want to say, yeah, a huge thank you to everybody who's joined in with this session. The idea of these is to try and sort of get an understanding of what types of community-led solutions to housing situations we could be looking at. And I'm really grateful to Iwan and Badger from Tir Cyffredin for joining us to talk a bit about what they're doing in Tir Cyffredin. Yeah, everybody can jump in with questions. Just put your hands up if you want to ask something or if you want to join in the conversation. But I thought I'd sort of get started really by asking Iwan and Badger to sort of introduce yourselves and what Tir Cyffredin is and a bit of the background about it.
Can you go ahead?
Hi, I'm Badger. Tir Cyffredin is a housing cooperative. And you want to introduce yourself?
Yeah, you and Dwi. Been living here at Tir Cyffredin in Machynlleth for 2 years now, and housing cooperative has been around for 5 years this year, 5 years this month, in fact. That's a big moment for us actually, which you'll hear about later. Is that enough for now, or do you want?
Yeah, great. How did it come about? How did it sort of the idea of it? How did it all start? I guess.
Yeah, that was you, wasn't it, Badger?
Yeah, so I'm the longest member who's still living here, and I was there when we set it up, and we set it up during lockdown. I'd been living here for a year or so before that. And yeah, there was 5 of us here at the time. No, actually, I think there was 4 of us who were mainly involved with the process of setting it up, the co-op, and buying the house that we were all living in off the landlord who decided to move out, and he actually approached us and said, "Do you want to do this, buy it as a housing co-op?" And we decided to go for it and give it a go.
So what was the process that you had to go through to be able to sort of buy the property then?
There was a lot to it. We had a lot. We were lucky to have a lot of support in the process from Compass, which was then called Mid Wales Cooperative, um, something like that. So we had to first negotiate the price with the landlord, who was a kind of friend of ours. And we basically had to get a mortgage. And to do that, we had to have a business plan that looked viable. There was a lot of like hoops to jump through to get that approved by the mortgage company. We had to have like evaluations, work carried out on the house and stuff to bring it up to spec. And then also another major part of it was for the business plan to work, we would have needed 7 rooms and it only had 5. So we had to convert the external garage into 2 extra dwellings. So that was quite a big part of it.
And you mentioned the support that you guys had then. That business plan was created using the Radical Roots template for housing cooperatives. So there's a spreadsheet on that which we still use for financial projections for like the 40-year business plan for how to pay back the mortgage, to pay back the loan stock investment, and which we use to justify our financial viability to Ecology, the mortgage provider, who I think are the only current provider offering mortgages to housing cooperatives. I think that hopefully will change as more start to branch out their definitions of what they consider like a legal model of tenancy or ownership.
That was going to be my question actually. Which mortgage provider do you speak to? Because banks aren't normally keen on things that any way different to what. their
Nationwide
standard
are
model?
trying to. I know Nationwide had a commitment to support community housing, but they've not actually formally changed their structure yet to enable mutual trust housing cooperatives to.
Wasn't there one called Triodos? Were they?
Yeah.
I don't know if they
Triodos.
did, or maybe I'm not sure if they did.
I know some others do. Like, yeah, I'm not sure. No, I don't know about mortgages, but bank accounts definitely. That's another hurdle. But Triodos and Cooperative Bank both offer bank accounts to cooperatives. We're with Unity, but it's another hurdle. You can't go to a mainstream bank account provider ever.
So how did you, what kind of, I'm guessing, did you have a legal structure and so on to be able to buy the property in the first place? So what was your structure and stuff that you went with?
Well, it's the fully mutual housing cooperative
Okay.
structure. And then we have to be, part of the obligations for that is to submit your accounts and to like be keyed in with the the organization that you do that with. And then another part of it, which I forgot to mention, which was a massive aspect of the setting things up, was the raising of the loan stock, because it's basically half of the amount of money that we needed to raise is raised through community investment, which I think was probably the most stressful part for me. The bit that I was like, this is not going to happen. And it actually went way better than I expected. Like, we got more than we intended to raise, which was really amazing.
How much did you raise?
So I think it was like around 140,000.
Yeah, I think it was 50% mortgage, 50% loan stock. So it was 141 on the mortgage and similar on the loan stock, maybe 140 on loan stock. And then a
And
bit
did that
more the
help?
following year to convert the bonds. Was it the following year or 2 years after?
Yeah,
There
we
was
needed
another
a little
top
bit more.
up to finish the bond conversion, which was also community investment.
So just to for somebody who might not be clear, what is community loan stock, and is that different to community share offer, for example?
Well, I'm not sure what a community share offer is, but
Okay.
I can tell you what a loan stock is. The loan stock is it's an investment. Basically, the community invests, and they invest anything above £1,000, so it can be as little as £1,000. And they get to choose the terms of their investment. So it could be they have options. It's between 0 and 3%, and then
Interest.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then in terms of duration, it could be for 5 years, 10 years, 15 years, 20 years. So they can choose how long they want to keep it in for. And we have to state that it's a non-secure investment. So it's not like guaranteed.
What's the percentage of return do they get on their loan stock or on their investment? Do they get something every year, or what's the
Yeah, so we
situation?
do a simple interest rate. So rather than compound, they will just get, say they've selected a 3% interest on £1,000 investment, they get £30 a year. I think my maths are right there. But and we would just send that every year, and then at the end of their term, we return the full initial investment sum.
And do you as the owners do you pay a monthly rent to a central, bank account, which then relates that back to the investors, or what's how does that work?
Yeah, so from our perspective, it's reasonably similar to as a flat share, as a house share would be. We pay a monthly rent to cover bills, utilities, maintenance, mortgage, and to accrue enough money over several year periods to then pay back the loan stock. None of us individually are invested. We don't own the house. We're just responsible for managing the legal entity that is Tir Cyffredin Housing Cooperative.
Okay.
Yeah.
Sorry, dos the other one.
None of you have got any any ownership of the building. You're all just all renting. Is that right?
Yeah, and even one or two of us have got some money in the loan stock investment, but the ownership still just rests entirely with the Tir Cyffredin housing
Yeah.
cooperative. That's just like a
Yeah.
liability, effectively, that the housing cooperative owes, same as the mortgage, same as everything.
Yeah. Okay.
Wow, it's a really interesting model. It strikes me that there's a lot of work at the start of this to get this working,
Yeah.
I guess, isn't there? What would be like, because we're sort of maybe at the start of a journey with housing, what would be kind of your advice to sort of somebody starting off? Are there any like pitfalls or things that you wish you'd known at the start?
Um, I mean, I think some things like having trust in kind of the fact that we could. It was really funny the whole way along. My thought process was, oh, this is never going to work. It's never going to work every step of the way, and it kind of did work at every step of the way. So one the only thing I would say is just stick with it, keep going. It's amazing, like when you start something like this, how much energy it kind of can gain and momentum it can gain. Get help though, get like advice. Like we had financial advice from someone who is associated with the Radical Roots. Radical Roots is a co-op, a massive cooperative that is geared towards helping new co-ops start up, and they have a branch. They have a branch of their network called Catalyst, and they are involved with helping with financial aspects. And so we had an advisor who was, I think it was paid for by Compass, and we had advice from this person, and that was really useful. That really helped because they'd been through the process, they knew what to expect and how to do it. I mean, that was just indispensable, really. And then Compass were really helpful, like in many aspects. They sort of alerted us to grants and opportunities. So getting help from organizations was a massive part of it, really important.
No, definitely needs, Compass does help. They've helped us as well in Pemachno, where we've got a housing association set up with the intention of buying property to let to people in the local area. Yeah.
Another
And
thing that, oh, sorry.
I was going to say another Compass fan here. They've been great with helping us get set up as well. So yeah.
Not on commissioning.
No, you know.
Another thing that I think was really important was kind of seeing ourselves for me, I think was really important, and I'm sure it did feed into things, was seeing ourselves as situated as part of the community, like trying to really envisage this thing as something that benefits the wider community, to get the community on side. I think that was really important to think about that. A lot of times there's sort of suspicion or kind of just people don't understand what's going on, and people can have negative connotations with these kinds of like slightly alternative structures. So it's quite important to like be very open and engage the community in as positive way as possible.
Especially in a time when so much community is getting eroded by short-term lets, and the property and housing is such a delicate issue, I suppose, in a way at the moment, with the way things are going. For it to really be community led by the communities that are living there already, by people who are living there or have roots and connections in that area in some way, shape, or form. I think will overcome an awful lot of hurdles and barriers, rather than trying to transplant a model into an existing community. It's community-led housing.
Yeah, for instance, and now we're really as a group very it's very important for us to be respectful to the Welsh language. We're everyone either speaks Welsh or is learning Welsh in the house, and we do everything in Welsh and English as well, things like that.
Yeah,
I just
important.
ask a question, Catherine, please?
Yeah.
The perception of a community house like this, is can be quite negative in some ways, can't it? And I'm conscious that you had to sort of deal with that somehow. But did you have a conscious way of actually addressing those issues in ways that, people were quite skeptical of your intentions, or what? How did you get around that issue?
One one thing that one one objection that we came across is that um we're asking people to give us money for like just to live,
Yeah.
and which is just absolutely incorrect and false. So that's quite an easy one to kind of dispel, but just sort of explain that,
Mm.
the ins and outs of investment in quite a succinct kind of way.
Mm.
You do spend a lot of time trying to explain what is actually going on and what.
Yeah.
Yeah, sure.
And we're not fundraising. It's not a charity.
Yeah.
This is an investment. It's a business
Yeah,
opportunity.
and the business basically, isn't it?
Mm.
It's an investment opportunity for people. Yeah.
Mm. I think another one on that question is to I think it's really important to be realistic with the people who are living in the space's capabilities in terms of like quite practical maintenance as well, because obviously the physical presentation of a building and the property where we're on a public footpath, that can create a certain perception. It was like, oh, they're all just a bunch of hippies or whatever. And it's like, well, actually, we're being responsible for the building. We're repointing the barns. We're like being responsible with hedgerows even, and making sure that the drives and public access is clear. Making sure that we're like really proactively presenting that front of like actual responsible management of this place.
Yeah.
Stewardship, I guess, isn't it? Stewardship for that piece of
Yeah.
land. And
Mm.
so I guess I wanted to sort of ask how sort of life looks really sort of day to day. So I've kind of got a better understanding of basically the entity owns the building and everybody who's there sort of pays rent to it essentially into that entity essentially, I guess, is it? And then
Mm.
everybody who lives there plays a part in the maintenance and so on of it. And then so how does it work, like day to day, how sort of collaborative and cooperative is it? Is everything sort of shared? And I guess the other follow-on question that I had is what happens when people want to leave or
Mhm.
whatever.
We start with the last question. When people want to leave, they leave.
Okay.
We've currently got a 2-month notice period, considering moving it to 3 months, and effectively they give notice to the housing cooperative, to us in a house meeting, and then we advertise a position and interview different candidates, decide who would be the best fit across a variety of different reasons, and then they move in. So we actually have a new housemate moving in tomorrow, possibly after a previous housemate who's been here 3 years moved out last month. But it is quite important to make sure we have rooms filled, because otherwise that the loss of that rental income into the housing cooperative does add up over a long time. So you have to weigh up, like, you need the right person, but also you can't wait around too long to get the right person.
Do you have a waiting list?
We don't have a waiting list now. We don't, because we don't know when a room will become available.
No.
And situations just change. So it's 2 years since anyone else. I was the last person to move in, April 2024, I think, until now.
James, do you want to come in?
Yeah, I just thought I understand, what it's about really. It strikes me this is I'm very old fashioned. Okay, something like a commune, is it shared living space, or are there separate flats, or how does it actually work?
Yeah, the word commune does get thrown around quite a lot, and it's quite
Yeah.
important to
I
really
didn't mean to insult anybody. It's
no, it's an important one to like really clear up.
yeah.
Do you want to speak to that at all, Badger?
Yeah, I mean, I'm not really sure what a commune is, but I mean,
Okay.
it's it's like a house share basically.
It's just
It's
a
like we all
just a house.
we're
Right.
all
Okay.
living in a
That would
house.
have been a better word if
So
I'd have used that. Yeah.
we all use the same kitchen.
Yeah.
There is one kitchen. There's 7 rooms, 7
Yeah.
people living here.
Mm.
There's we cook communally.
Right.
For no other reason than it's a really good idea, because we are, 7 people, everyone's
7
cooking
people,
one
small
night a week,
kitchen.
and they're getting cooked for 7 evenings
Mm.
a week. But then we sort out our own lunches and breakfasts and stuff, and we just live,
Mhm.
pretty autonomously other than that. Our commitments are, we have a meeting every 2 weeks on a Tuesday, and then we have a work day once a month. And then outside of that, people will do stuff like, if they have an interest in the land, which there's several people in the house who are quite keen on gardening and kind of land-based skills, they'll just do more of that.
Mm. Yeah, like I've been doing, me and our housemate Simon have been doing a lot of work in the garden this spring and just getting the veg beds ready and planted out. Which doesn't really, so yeah, to clarify, the work days that we have once a month, that's for like larger maintenance tasks. Like yesterday you were fixing the front door because one of the hinges had came off, or it'll be repainting a room or repointing the barns, building a bike shed. Things that are like large tasks collaboratively, where people come together, we share time, we share lunch together, and work together. Like we doing re-puttying all the windows, for instance. Long-term sort of maintenance tasks for the house, really. And whereas the house meetings Badger mentioned they're more about, we'll have a bit of discussion on stuff like that. It's a bit of discussion on personal dynamics, but not really. It's primarily about like logistical things, like, oh, the oil's running low, we need to get a new tank in. Insurance is up for renewal. We need to increase the rents. Need to look at the bills. Oh, wait a minute, something's leaking over there. What do we do about that? Let's put a plan together. Someone from Pantera, if different Paris has contacted us, is anyone going to be able to go and speak to them?
Yeah, it's essentially just all the aspects of running a property
Right.
and living together, shared and organizing, sharing that between 7 people so that we can work together to do all those aspects.
But generally, we don't actually spend a lot of time together. Certainly not all together as a house. That's basically just meetings and work days. And to be honest, it's probably why it works so well.
Well, we're all
I can
quite
imagine
busy.
rotas and spreadsheets and things, putting
Yes.
notes on walls and that kind of thing.
We have a cleaning rota, where we all rotate
Right.
cleaning an area of the house every month.
Right.
So that's shared responsibilities, which just fall into day-to-day house running. So a cooking rota and a cleaning rota, help keep things running smoother.
And we have to
And
keep an eye on the overall financial kind of health, which
right.
is important.
And everybody pays rent to the kind of management. I can't remember what you said, but there's a kind of management group. Is there a management?
It's the mutual. There's like a legal entity.
Mutual.
That is the
Yeah,
mutual.
right. Okay.
We have a bank account for the housing co-op where all the interactions to do with the housing co-op stuff go into. We decide if we need to raise the rent. If we will look, we look at the projections we're expected that we expect that we will raise the rent, and we decide how much by.
Yeah.
We handle the kind of bills separately to the co-op business, and we have to submit the accounts once a year. So everything needs to be very sort of like organized, transparent, clear what's going on, and
yeah, as long as you reasonably keep on top of it, it's not a lot of work. It works.
Yeah.
I'm sure it could be better, but
it works.
The foods bill as well. We keep that completely separate. That's shared we share a cost for bulk food items that we order in, and the food that we buy for communal meals only, for when we eat together on an evening. But everything else for our own lunches, our breakfasts. If we want anything separately, we buy that just out of our own money for ourselves.
The way I see it is it's like living in a house share, a little bit more work than it would be for that, but then you get the autonomy. You don't, you choose what happens. You choose whether you paint the walls. You choose how to look after the house. So you get a lot more freedom around living in a property and feeling like a sense of ownership, for want of a better word.
Yeah, like our new housemate who's moving in this week, she said when she was coming around to like look at the room and plan out, she said she was a little bit shocked. She was like, "Whoa, I've like never thought of that. I've never been asked if I want to like repaint or redecorate a room before I move in. I've never had that option before." And it's like, "Yeah, go nuts. We've got a lot of paint under the stairs. Do what you want. It's your room now." Within reason.
Did you
Right,
add
I know you guys need to go off, don't you? Because you've got something else somewhere else to be pretty much.
Sorry,
Alban had a question?
Oh,
Just quickly, personal space is probably something quite important to, especially if the majority of you are individuals. What happens if you decide that you want somebody else to move in with you? Is that an issue that you have to address occasionally?
To move into a bit like a partner moving into a bedroom.
Yes. Yeah.
It's not came up yet.
Okay.
That was more of the thing in the before. Like we've had quite a stable group of people now for the last
Mhm.
three or so years.
Yeah.
Before that, there was a lot of more kind of moving around, and there were some partners living in the house.
Yeah.
And but it hasn't that hasn't like those people in relationships in the house seem to be quite happy to not have their partners living.
Moving in with them. Yeah.
Personal space is the word you said, right?
Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah. No,
And
just thought
other
I'm sure you'd come across it and just wondered how you addressed it. That's all.
cooperatives do that. There's another co-op trying to set up in the area, and they've got that's a couple with children living together, and
Okay.
it does work. A lot of co-ops do it, and it's a little bit harder to manage. I think they've actually ended up building an additional cabin that they've then moved into with the family, and then there's more to make more room in the house.
Yeah.
On that, it feels like saying on that note, there, like we've talked a lot about the kind of like the logistics and practicalities of setting things up and the financial aspects, but I think that it's important, and we acknowledge it's important, and do have at various times put more work into the kind of interpersonal living group dynamics, which is really important. I think that's vitally important to put time into. So those kinds of conversations about things like that are things that would be discussed in these kinds of groups.
Yeah, I think one of the big factors that's kept us such a stable and functional group over the last 3 years is that we all have a really clear shared understanding and intention surrounding what it means to live in a housing cooperative, because it's an acceptance of the responsibility that there is, that there's like the responsibility to each other, to yourself, to show up in like your best way possible with the people you live with, responsibility to the house physically, to maintain the space, the land, and to like the financial longevity. Like we're all really well aware that we're God, I hope I'm not living here in 20 years time, 30 years time. But not that there's anything wrong with this, but we're really aware that it's our responsibility to ensure that this cooperative exists for the future, and particularly now at this time. I do want to mention this. I know I said we'd finish at 1, but I do want to mention that I mentioned the 5-year period now. So we're coming towards the end of our first loan stock repayment period. So a portion of people from the initial loan stock investment selected a 5-year repayment term. So now this is the year we need to repay back, I think £70,000 or something it is. And because that is a financial responsibility, that is our responsibility perhaps not legally on an individual basis, but us collectively as the cooperative, we need to ensure that we're able to do that. So part of the business plan that we've chosen involves taking in more loan stock, a smaller amount. Like we pay back 70, we take in 50 because we've accrued £20,000 worth of profit while paying back the mortgage. So this year, next week, in fact, actually on Sunday, Monday, we're going to be launching our next loan stock campaign to open up more chances for people to invest in loan stock in the cooperative. So alongside that, we'll probably also be trying to produce some materials for what it means to be a mutual housing cooperative, and like we'll have like an investment pack that can go out, which it might be interesting to, if you wanted us, we could share that with you as like a little model for like, oh, this is what it might look like.
That would be amazing. I think that would be a really useful resource to have a look at, because
yeah, it's quite well timed actually.
yeah, because I don't know about anybody else, but I'm finding this conversation like really interesting, and it's really sort of opening up my eyes about what it actually looks like and how things could work. And I can see Tilly wants to come in.
Oh, yes, thank you. First of all, I apologize about the blank impersonal screen. I think my technology is having a Monday morning. But I wanted to really just say thanks for sharing your story, because I've been reading about, I'm going to massacre the pronunciation, sorry, Tir Cyffredin, is that right?
Cyffredin.
Okay,
Yeah,
80% there. I'll practice. But actually, this is the place that I'm coming from, because I work with Compass, and I'm helping to curate an exhibition on the stories and the individuals behind community-led housing and housing alternatives and what is out there. Because quite frankly, I just don't think people know what there is that is like another option. So I'm just kind of on that note, as well as sharing your story here, will probably be in touch later this week, because I am looking for kind of examples all across the spectrum, people who are setting up ideas, people who've had success, people who've faced challenges, kind of, because I'm sure there's, as you mentioned, lots of roadblocks. So if it's all right, I'll be reaching out to some of you this week to pick your brains a bit further. I won't do it here.
Yeah, get our email off Catherine. More than welcome to.
Thank you. Thanks.
Great.
So yeah, that's just a very long-winded thank you, but that's what I want to say.
Great. I would just add maybe one last closing point. Maybe it's two, I'm not sure. Something Badger alluded to at the start was how essential it was to have the landlord on side, because obviously you said that you lived here for several years beforehand, and had the landlord not been willing to negotiate the price down, to be patient when he was trying to sell the house, to offer that first to the community effectively, that would have presented so many more hurdles. And I think there's perhaps a lot that could be done to really advertise and support and encourage other private landlords to consider this model rather than like an Airbnb route or a buy sell to let sort of thing, or like short-term lets, like all of the other models that property owners are like tempted to follow. But actually the community investment, the return on social return on investment from community-led housing has, I don't think there is any like quantifiable numbers out there for what good that does, but I definitely think more support and awareness surrounding this model could be put out there for landlords.
No, I agree with you. I think it's an opportunity, I think, for some people who are interested in this model to look at it fresh, I think, and it needs, I'm looking at encouraging people to buy properties so that they can be rented and the money then given back to the community through the rents, really. But I'm conscious that your model is quite well. It's practically unique in lots of ways in lots of parts of Wales, and I think it'll fit some people's interest to follow that route instead of just the ordinary rented model, isn't it?
Yeah. And the thing about the loan stock aspect of the model as well, because that's a community investment, and it's a smaller sums of money, we are actually the return on that investment, the profits that we're generating from our rental income effectively are staying within the community rather than going to a mortgage provider, rather than being completely beholden to like another entity. We're actually keeping that. A lot of our investors are local in the community. We know a lot of them. A lot of them are friends. So that the profits from that, the benefits
Stay
from that
local.
are shared, are kept local as well.
Yeah.
That's getting me really excited.
We found the same with trying to raise money to buy the Eagles in Pamachno, really. That's the majority of people who bought shares in that, so we're local people, really, and wanted to see the pub and the services kept for local people. And it's good to hear that you found something similar with loan stock there.
How difficult do you think it would be to sort of do what you've done, but if you were trying to buy a property off the market, do you think that would make it really difficult? Or like,
Yeah, very difficult.
Mm.
There was a guideline when we started, which was like something like £45,000 a room. If you add up all the rooms in the house, that's the maximum you could pay. So a lot of them are outside of the price range to start with. And then you have the fact that that you've got quite a lot to go through to get the mortgage. So it does take longer. It seems, or it might take, it could take longer.
Yeah, so the advice would be if you've got the group of people who want to do it, and maybe some of them are living together, to do some of that groundwork first, to set up the legal entity, to start looking, even to make contact with like property owners, landowners, and take a really proactive approach, and being able to just take an opportunity when it comes. If you do see an affordable house coming up on the market, or like it's quite often you do get people would rather sell to people who are going to live in the community. A friend of mine has bought a house here, and the person selling it was happily to take his lower offer because he was actually going to live there. And so I think a lot of house owners would rather sell to people who are going to live in the place where they grew up or where their family are from. So there's perhaps a lot more sympathy than just the market might present. But yeah, do the work first, do the admin, do the legwork, be realistic about how much maintenance and renovation the property might need, how much money you'll need to take in to pay for that as well. Yeah, that would be my advice for that.
That's what we're trying to do with Machynlleth for Paris. It's a cooperative model. It's set up. It's got the bank account. We are looking at our first property, but it's going to be a 1 to 2 bed sort of, not a sort of shared property. But hopefully on Thursday, when we get a bigger conversation about the research we've been doing and talk with the community, we'll come up with some ideas about different avenues and models that we could take. So I've got so many. Oh, sorry.
So there's another group in Machynlleth called, is it just Machynlleth Co-housing? And they've set up a model already. They're trying to establish a new build co-housing project in Mac. So it's a totally different model. They're early stages, but are trying to identify lands to build Dovey co-housing. Thanks, Kath. So it's another model, and that's co-housing rather than co-living. So that would be independent units or cabins type thing.
It's good. We've got our next talk, just to plug it. The next group coming to us are Nevin Town Trust. So they're a sort of more community land trust model, would you say, sort of, Kath, maybe? But they're a charity, and they've been going for about 100 years, I think, and they are currently building some new housing as well. So that's another model of. So there's loads of options, isn't there? But you don't know what these options are and what you could actually do until you sort of come to understand them, and that's why. Yeah, it's really great to have you here and give your time to help really help me understand.
The more support there is available from government, for organisations like Compass, yourselves, the more of that there is available, even just for advice services, grants and loans. The more systems that are in place to help people do this, then the more chances we'll have to try different things and see what does work. and yeah,
And I'd say
increasing opportunities.
I said this in the other session, I'm still analysing the numbers from the research that we've done, but what comes across really importantly in every sort of question almost is how important community is and how much people value community and the people around them. So I think like
Mm.
opportunities like this where you know, which is about the community and driving it forward and that engagement with the community, I think are really, really important, aren't they?
Yeah.
So are there any, I know that we've run over time and that you guys need to go. So yeah, are there any other burning questions that people have or anything, or any burning points that you'd like to raise before we bring it to a close?
Just on the community side that you mentioned, Catherine, um, how did you actually deal with that in practical terms when you were setting this up? You know, how did you talk to the local community? Did you need to talk to the local community to explain what you were doing?
Yeah, well, I mean, probably the main medium of communication was well, no, I mean there were several, but you know, so we had social media sort of campaign. We had we put adverts in local sort of avenues and places like that to put the word out of what was going on. And so we would like kind of document everything. Um and also just the people who were living here were active, very active, were and are still are very active in sort of various community kind of areas. There's been people working with like there's gardeners. I mean, I'm involved with like music, a lot of music stuff happening in town. So I run a session
Right.
and that sort of kind of thing. Um,
Yeah, we are all very proactive in different ways. A lot of us
Right.
work in third sector or creative arts, do
Right.
youth work, gardening work. Like I teach cooking for a living. Like we all have a variety of ways that we interact with the community.
Yeah.
so
And
kind of
did you
just
get any
leveraging those
objections,
networks.
or did you get any objections that you had to deal with?
Not much, not
No.
many. Like
No.
here and there, someone would put in there was a few kind of like comments, but there weren't really very that
No.
there was a thing around, and you know, this is something that we've thought about a lot about, like, you know, who kind of what does local mean, like what, because we
Mm,
have this thing about like it's we want to prioritize people who are living in the area to get like
Right.
live, but then there was like what is local, so there was kind of debates about that came up.
mm.
um
There was no planning application for anything you were doing.
we we did some planning on the when we converted the garages, but we didn't have to do a change of use. They were
Right.
like already residential anyway, so it
Yeah.
was so we did, but we were interacting with the planners there at that point. Yeah.
And
um
that went okay. There were
it was
it's
fine, yeah.
unusual if there's any planning applications, you don't get some objections.
Mm.
Yeah.
You know, it was pretty good actually.
Yeah, good. Oh,
I-
good.
we have had we've had a sort of like, due to the previous owner of the house who didn't get on with everyone in the valley so well, we've had to like kind of repair some relationships with our neighbors, which I believe have been done quite well now,
Mm.
Right,
are going
right.
quite nicely. So I think it's clear to see that we're kind of very respectful, trying to
Okay.
look after the property well, and you know, don't want to
Mm.
cause any trouble with the neighbors. And
Yeah, it's that sort of being
whatsoever.
responsible to to all of the property and our neighbours and our surroundings, and that's a big part of interaction.
Oh, it sounds like ideal. That's really great.
And
Brilliant.
Compass also organised some wider meetings that I spoke at some of those meetings to explain what we were doing. We actually had some quite big press at one point. Like a reporter got in touch with me and asked me some questions, and it went into some, yeah. So yeah, there were various, just like when you started the thing going, people wanted to talk, and
Mm.
we found areas to kind of like talk to people in.
Yeah, and I think, well, there might be, like, we could call them objections. It's often it's an avenue for a conversation. It's an avenue
Yeah, yeah.
for like,
Right.
it comes from a place of not really knowing or understanding
Mm.
necessarily what like, oh, what is that? Is it a commune? And it's like,
Mm.
and then it's like, well, actually, that's an opportunity to have a conversation there, and yeah.
Great.
Yeah, because also, like, you know, from our perspective, you have to understand that it's not very common. You know, in some European countries, there's far more visibility of housing cooperatives. Here, it's just not that
Yeah.
common. So
Finland, for instance, it's really high. Is it? I can't remember. I saw the percentage. It was like 40% or something of the housing stock in Finland is a housing cooperative.
Wow.
For Sweden, there's other places. It's a much more
Right.
like just accepted and understood model of housing.
We've
What's
got a
the
strong kind of.
demographic?
Oh, sorry, Edwin.
Sorry, Catherine. What's the demographics of the house? Is it, are you all under 30, 40 or whatever? What's the what's the ratio?
No, I mean until Becky moved in, that was her just walking in there. Now, me or Greg were the youngest at 32. Simon 55, I think. You and Kate and Jojo are all around 40.
yeah,
So yeah, it's generally older demographic in our house.
Okay.
Some of the other housing co-ops are a bit younger in the area, others more a bit older.
Yeah.
Quite a range though. Now it's going to be, I think, 25 to 55 between the 7 of us.
Yeah. No, that's good to know.
Mm.
Thanks.
Yeah, that do feel that's quite important to have
Yeah.
support, being able to get really clear on like the actual understanding of the responsibility and the intention to
Yeah,
to
definitely.
really be clear what it means to live in a housing cooperative, to take on starting a housing cooperative even.
Sure. Yeah. Yeah, good.
How old were you all when you started it? Were you...
40 minus 5.
But it's an interesting idea, isn't it? Because I can sort of see a benefit. And yeah, anyway, my creative mind is going everywhere in terms of different groups that might like to come together or different. Do you know what I mean? It's kind of there's real potential because housing for young people's come up really, and things for younger people's come up really strongly in our survey. I can see like a lot, when you're kind of post kids kind of age, wanting to come back with other people and kind of, do you know what I mean? Kind of so that sort of potential there as well. So yeah, I think it's really exciting. I don't know if it's just the beautiful scenery behind you, but I think that it's kind of got me in a really good mood about what we could be doing.
Yeah, that thing about wanting to living with other people in this way does definitely give you a lot of outlets into other areas in the community and stuff like that. There is certainly an energy around living with people that even though I'm actually I do like my own space. There's so much benefit to this kind of living, I think.
Yeah, I meet people and they ask where do I live, and they're like, "Oh, you're at Brinternal," and there's a history, there's knowledge, there's a knowing, there's like a presence that the house and the community has, that the house and the cooperative has in the community.
It's something bigger than just a house, isn't it? I guess. Oh, have we lost? Oh. Well, I was about to try sort of because I know that they needed to go anyway, so I was about to sort of try and bring things to a close, but I'll contact them and say a huge thank you for their time because I think that was really, really interesting and really valuable. Yeah, and I'll say thank you, diolch yn fawr iawn I bawb yn fama hefyd. Thank you, everyone. I think that was a really good conversation. So, yeah, next one is this coming Thursday. No, this Wednesday, sorry. Wednesday at 12:30 with Nevin. And then I'll try and get all of them together and put them on YouTube so that people have got access to the recordings as well. So diolch yn fawr iawn i chi gyd am ddŵad. Diolch bawb.
Diolch
Thank you.
am trefnu, Catrin. Ta-ra.
Diolch. Ta-ra.
Diolch yn fawr am ti.